everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been some time since I posted anything. It must be a good few months. I think it's Rob Walker's vinyl tag 2024 was the last time I was on here. Life got in the way and everything, but I've been doing a little bit of vinyl purchasing, and as you may have seen from that intro, I've actually been abroad for the second time in a year. Unusual for me, but I did so, and that was my young daughter there swinging on a hammock in a lovely church in Belgium. Anyway, more of that in a moment. To begin with, let's just do a little rundown. I'll try and do it chronologically of my recent vinyl purchases. So a bit of a catch-up video, this one anyway. So over the new year, I was doing quite a lot of online purchasing, and I sort of discovered, well, in desperation, you may have seen, if you haven't, go back and have a look, that I did a few videos last year on my vinyl odyssey in Japan, where I particularly targeted jazz. But I was kind of curious and you know, checking YouTube, etc., on actual, you know, Japanese pop rock music. Anyway, so I stumbled on a few that I thought, you know, I must check them out. And luckily I found a supplier through Discogs who actually does really cheap postage and packaging from Japan. I don't know how they do it. Anyway, I may drop a link for them down below. They're called UK, I can't remember. Anyway, I'll put a link down below for them. Dub Store UK, that's the one. Anyway, so let's start out with a few purchases I made from them of some Japanese stuff. First up, let me get my glasses on. We've got Maki Asakawa. Now this is her debut album. I believe it's from 1970. I think it's called, in translation, something like The World of Maki Asakawa. And she's a kind of sort of, what do you call that? Not really a ballad singer. There's our label there. I believe this is a first press on that Express label. It's in lovely condition as well. I mean, absolutely, you know, quiet as a mouse, this one. Oh yeah, and it's also got, let me get this out, in Japanese. Obviously you get the lyric sheet there, which I can't read, but anyway. And she does sing mainly in Japanese, and it's kind of like, how to define her? I mean, to pigeonhole her would be difficult. I would say she's a sort of bluesy type light jazz singer, and this is pretty dated, to be honest, the sound. She sings a cover of, I think, Motherless Child, the spiritual, on here, so that gives you sort of flavour of it. Kind of, it's a weird mixture of sort of Elkie Brooks meets Nico. You know, she's got this slightly drawling sort of delivery, and she loved the monochrome. You can see here, you know, all her sleeves, you know, all her albums were of that kind of ilk. But it's lovely stuff, you know. It's great instrumentation, and I believe, I don't understand it, but I think it's a sort of concept album, because you get these kind of soundscapes segueing through the entire recording. So you've got sounds of footsteps in corridors, you know, train whistles blowing, children laughing. It's really quite atmospheric, a very unusual album anyway. Yeah, that one I can recommend. I think she died about sort of 10 years ago, but she was a kind of cult figure in Japan, and I can understand why. Well worth a listen, that one. Anyway, from 1970, The World of Maki Asakawa. A really quite different kind of singer, a really completely different genre, and she covers everything, is Aiko Yano, who is semi-known in the West. She should be a star. The Japanese, or rather, I think the English critics refer to her as a kind of Japanese Kate Bush. I don't think that covers it. I really don't. Her, you know, the expansiveness of her sound, her output. You know, she's much more prolific. She's a much, in my mind, a much bigger figure than Kate Bush. Nothing wrong with Kate Bush, but I don't think it's a very good analogy myself. Anyway, from 1976, I have her fantastic debut album, Japanese Girl, with that lovely cover there. There she is, Aiko Yano on the back. Now, she's a singer and pianist, so she composes a lot of her own stuff. Maybe all of the numbers on this particular debut LP. This is a Japanese pressing. I don't think it was ever pressed in the West. There it is. It's on the blue Philips label. Yeah, as I say, 1976. How to categorise this one, because she really does. She's a real sort of musical gadfly. You know, she moves around genres almost seamlessly, and she's pretty darn good at everything she does. This has on side one the backing of the LA rock band Little Feat. So that might give you, there you are, you've got a lyric sheet inner there that pulls out with some photos of Akiko there. Yeah, it's kind of, you know, swampy, bluesy music, but she's got a very light, sorry, let me just get the lyric sheet back in there, very light, sort of mellifluous voice, extremely pleasant stuff. And on the B side, she goes back with a Japanese studio band, so it's really, you know, it's a real sort of series of moods, etc., that she creates on this album. Lovely instrumentation, as I say. You know, it's got people like Lowell George on it. It's great stuff. I could see why they you know, wanted to work with Aiko Yano. I believe this one was actually recorded in LA. Okay, but yeah, highly recommended that one. Fantastic album. And I also, on the Aiko Yano kick, bought her second album, which is called, let me just call it up because I've got it on screen.
Nagatsuki Kanazuki.
Oh, there we are. The computer's just done it for me. It's called Nagatsuki Kanazuki, which I don't know the meaning of, but you can see that it's got a lovely, you know, obi strip here. So everything's intact, and this one is indeed on Philips, but unusually it is a, let me just get it in the right position there. This one is a white label promo. There we are. And this is from 1977, I believe. And this one was recorded live, the whole thing. It's a concert. Mainly solo, but she's got a band on there as well, all Japanese. And it's got some nice, you know, percussion and etc. And she sings, plays the piano, etc., etc. You can see it's got this gorgeous inner here. I mean, this, you know, they really do. They really do go to town, the Japanese, with their. There's a picture of Akiko there. I hope you can see the lyric inner. And it's fantastic. You know, this woman can really play. She's a great pianist. It's got sort of jazzy elements in it as well, but very much singer-songwriter sort of stuff. She did work later on, I know, with Yellow Magic Orchestra, and was married, I believe, for some time to Ryuichi Sakamoto, who we sadly lost last year. But anyway, so yeah, I got that one as well. So that was a really welcome addition to the collection. On a whim from a charity shop, I couldn't resist this one. It was very cheap. It's about £1. I got Van McCoy's Disco Baby. Great cover. What about that, eh? Now this one, is it a classic? I don't think so. But boy, you know, it's got the hustle on there. I think everyone needs to hustle these days, don't they? Yeah, this is from 1975 on that Avco label. It's a British press. Yeah, you know, it's got some nice disco stuff on it, but of course he's a bit of a one-hit wonder with the hustle, isn't he? Which is on there. Yeah, that's a nice album. I also ordered this one. I think I got this one off Discogs. I've been looking for some time for something by him. I have to say I'm not the greatest fan. Probably this isn't even his best album, but I took a punt on Iggy Pop's Lust for Life. I used to have Stooges albums many moons ago, which I sold, but anyway. Yeah, and this one is an original. I got it, you know, quite a good price on this one. It's on the old, you can see the orange, oh, let's get that the right way up, there we are, the orange RCA label. It's a British pressing, English pressing, I should say. Yeah, you know, it's got Lust for Life, it's got The Passenger, it's got a few other memorable numbers, but is it a classic? You know, it's a personal thing, isn't it? But yes, it's a decent enough album. Now, unusually, about 6-8 weeks ago, I was literally walking outside a shop and I saw a box full of records. Someone had just left them in the street. There we are. People do these things, and I had a rummage and there was a few interesting bits in there. So I thought, oh, okay, I can't argue with the price. And I picked out this one. I'd never heard of this guy, Andrew Cronshaw. This is called Till the Beast's Returning, and it's on Topic Records. I believe this chap is Welsh. This came out in 1987. There you are. So it's on that Topic label. And he plays things like zither. He's a kind of multi-instrumentalist. I don't think he does any... It's all instrumental. He's not a vocalist. And some of this is really quite pleasant stuff. You know, it's kind of eclectic. There's some traditional stuff on here. Some of his own compositions. It's really quite atmospheric. It's quite... I wouldn't say that it's necessarily... what's the word? Not ambient, but it's got that kind of feel to it, some of it. But anyway, so there we are, Andrew Cronshaw, Till the Beast Returning. And I also picked out this one. Oh, sorry, I'm getting in a bit of a muddle down here. Yeah, this is Katherine Tickel, who's quite well known. She's a Common Ground, I think it's maybe her second or third album. She's a Northumbrian pipe player. A lovely label, that, isn't it? Black Crow Records, look at that. And this is from 1988. Yeah, and she plays fiddle as well. The fiddle stuff, I have to admit, I find it a little bit, you know, a bit of whimsy in there. It's all right. I couldn't listen to it all the time. You've got Danny Thompson on here from Pentangle. Yeah, it's quite nice, you know, arrangements. But I do like the pipe stuff. Again, quite atmospheric. Right, now a bid I made and I won on eBay a couple of months ago. Something came up and there was a whole load of stuff by the same seller. I bid on several lots, couldn't get anything. This one, fortunately, I won. And it was a band that I've never owned anything by, but I've been determined to find something. The Third Earband. This is their sort of eponymous second album. It's just called the Third Earband. I think sometimes they call it Elements, you know, as a subtitle, because it does air, earth, fire, water. They're an interesting group. Again, very, very hard to categorise. This is an original first press in lovely shape. A little bit mouldy. It cleaned up beautifully. Let me get that right. There we are. Yeah, how do you categorise the Third Earband? It's kind of improvised folk orchestral music using oboe. I believe their oboe player, they called him the British John Coltrane, because of his sort of ability to endlessly improvise with these kind of serpentine sleepy sounds. It's good stuff. They're a really fine band. I believe John Peel was involved with them early on. So there we are on the original Harvest label, Third Earband's second album. I also bought this one online. Let's go over to, about a month ago, I've been looking for a copy of this for a long time. It's Kate Bush's second album. This is an original, the funny embossed lettering on here, Lionheart, which I've been aware of. You know, when I was at school, I remember the thing coming out, all the rest of it. Remember the singles off there, Wow, and I think Hammer Horrors on here. Terrific stuff, terrific stuff. It's, you know, she's no slouch. This is not a sort of, you know, slack sophomore album at all. It really does, you know, it's got quite a punch. It's got some lovely stuff on there. I like that song, is it Kashgar from Baghdad? It's very atmospheric, sweet record. I wasn't so keen on her 80s output. I found it slightly too processed for me, you know, too overly produced. But anyway, so I was happy to get that one. Now, as I was in Belgium, I bid on something. I'll talk a little bit more about Belgium in a moment. And I won, and here's a band which I've only recently got into. They've only came on the radar for me in the last sort of few years, but I started listening to them and I thought, wow, these girls can really play. And it's Fanny. Everyone needs a bit of Fanny, titty ye not, as they say. But this is Charity Ball, and I believe this is their second album on Reprise from 1971, and they were formed they're in California by really two sisters who were of Filipino-American heritage, the Millington sisters, and you know, they played guitar and bass respectively, good singers. But they teamed up with a great singer who's got a hell of a powerful voice called Nikki Barclay. There she is there. She's the pianist. And you know, the lead single in that, Charity Ball. It's great stuff. They could really rock. But I would say this about Fanny. The recordings I've seen of them live, I think they were a better live band. They never really captured the energy and the real, you know, the balls they had. You know, when they played, and they were famous obviously for being an all-female band. But that aside, you know, you don't need to know that. They can really play, and they write pretty good songs as well. But of course, they never really broke through, sadly. But well worth investigating. I highly recommend. Certainly the early stuff by Fanny. They're a great band, and notably, of course, they're all still with us. But you know, like all of us, they're getting, you know, not getting any younger. Anyway, let's go to a couple more of these were charity shop finds just the other day. Here we have Lindisfarne. This is nicely out of tune, their first album. They did a deal on this for me. I think I paid a £5 for it. I wasn't too sure about it, having bought it. You know, it's okay. It's a good album. A couple of nice numbers on there, but I wouldn't call it a classic. You know, it depends again what you're into, but it's nice to find this original on the Charisma Pink label. Now this is a terrific record. I picked this up. I don't normally buy 12-inch singles. Here's a 12-inch 45 of Kool in the Gang, Too Hot. I don't have any Kool in the Gang in my collection at all, although I rate them. Here it is, Too Hot from 1979. This sounds absolutely fantastic on my system. I couldn't believe how good it sounded. I mean, the production on this thing is off the charts. You know, it really sounds great. It's disco music, not really my thing again, but I can really appreciate the talent in this one. Great single, Too Hot. Now let's go over to Belgium. As I said, I was there. Sorry, I've just got a passing siren there. Yeah, I was over there a few weeks ago, went over there for Easter with the family, stayed about 4 or 5 days. I was in Brussels and Antwerp later. Brussels was good. You know, I went in about 3 or 4, managed to track down some second-hand vinyl shops. Prices were high, much higher than when I last went, but that was 20 years ago, admittedly. But I can't help but think, you know, the pound has weakened considerably against the euro. Could Brexit have something to do with it? Go figure. But anyway, so it was a little bit high. I was finding prices high. But just here, before we talk about the one record I did buy in Belgium, we'll drop in some video footage of, it's called Orsiri. And it's a second-hand vinyl shop. We went in there and had a rummage. So there's some nice footage coming up here. there we are. Okay, so that was All Siri. And while I was in Belgium, I'd actually contacted beforehand, about a month ago, a seller via Discogs, anyway, long story, who had a piece of vinyl, and it had been up on the site for some time, and he was asking quite a bit for it, and I said, look, can you do a deal, yada yada yada, and he said, well, okay. And then I said, well, look, I'm actually coming to Belgium. I noticed you're a Belgian buyer. So he said, oh yeah, okay, we can do a deal, do it with cash, save me 30 euros on the shipping. So I thought, this is pretty irresistible, and it was on the top. It was number one on my want list. So I thought, hey, this is a win-win. So while I was in Antwerp, I met up with a chap called Christoph. Thank you, Christoph. And he came along and met me and handed me over this little beauty. Here we have it. So this is See You at the Fair. It's an original first press by the fantastic Ben Webster. This was released in '64, I believe. I think it's his only impulse release, so that makes it interesting, to say the least. And it's pretty rare. It goes for fairly big money. This one is near mint. It's like it's never been played. Even the sleeve, the beautiful gatefold sleeve on here, is pretty immaculate. And of course this one comes with this wonderful there you go, the promo inner. So yeah, that was a really nice find. It was something that I'd had on my radar for a very long time. Particularly nice on this album, you've got and a great band as well. You've got Hank Jones on piano, Roger Kellaway, the late Richard Davis on bass, and Ozzy Johnson on drums. But I love the Lullaby of Jazzland. Once heard, never forgotten. Brilliant. And Fall of Love, that ballad on there, that's very short, very sweet, very breathy, as was everything that he did, and very sort of that sort of laconic, that sort of lazy delivery he had, always offbeat, always behind the beat. Webster, but he could really play. It's like every note is immaculate. He selects so brilliantly the way in which he plays. I cannot recommend this album enough to anyone. Anyway, so there we have it. That's a roundup of my little Belgian short break and recent finds. Anyway, I hope I'm back on again before too long. I shall see you then. Bye.